Wait, are we seriously talking about buying a bridesmaid dress for a wedding that might not even be real? Like, is this actually happening? Or are we just playing along with a story that hasn't even been confirmed yet? Because when people mention Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're usually talking about certainty, power, success, and a relationship that looks unshakable from the outside. But lately, the conversation has started to sound very different. She shook her head quickly when asked about it. No ring, she said, not yet. But her expression told another story entirely, one filled with long-term dreams, marriage, children, a future she clearly wants. Even without the ring, it's obvious she sees that life ahead of her. But this is where things begin to shift, because behind the polished image of Jay-Z and Beyonce, the internet has been building its own narrative for years. Not just admiration, but questions, stories about pressure, rumors about control, whispers about influence, private recordings, and things happening far away from cameras. And somehow one name keeps resurfacing in those conversations: Aaliyah. There's a long circulating theory online suggesting that Aaliyah once distanced herself from certain powerful figures in the industry, including Jay-Z. According to that narrative, she chose not to follow a particular path. If there's any truth to that idea, it raises uncomfortable questions about how influence really works behind the scenes. Because at that level, rejection doesn't always come without consequences. For years, Jay-Z and Beyonce have been seen as the ultimate power couple. Billion-dollar empire, perfect performances, carefully controlled image, everything aligned. But when people start looking closer, some patterns begin to stand out. Jay-Z didn't just become successful, he became powerful. From his early days building Rockefeller Records to creating Rock Nation, he positioned himself as someone who could shape careers, someone who decides who gets opportunities and who gets left behind. Around that same time, Beyonce was stepping into her solo career after Destiny's Child. She was young, talented, and already gaining attention, and that's when Jay-Z entered the picture, not just as a collaborator, but as someone with significantly more industry control. Back then, people called it mentorship, guidance, a natural partnership. Now, years later, some are looking back at that dynamic with a different lens, and that's where Aaliyah's name comes back again. Aaliyah was already established, confident, independent, and respected across the industry. She didn't seem to need anyone to build her career. According to long-standing industry talk, Jay-Z was interested in working closely with her, but she wasn't interested. On its own, that's just a choice. Artists make decisions like that all the time, but what happened next is what continues to fuel speculation. In 2001, Aaliyah died in a tragic plane crash. The official investigation concluded it was an accident involving an overloaded aircraft and pilot-related issues, a heartbreaking event that shocked the entire world. But despite the official explanation, the internet never fully let that story go. Over time, alternative theories began to spread, suggesting deeper connections, hidden motives, and unanswered questions. There's no verified evidence supporting those claims, but they persist because people continue trying to connect dots. At one point, Beyonce publicly spoke about Aaliyah with admiration, calling her an angel and acknowledging her influence. She even reflected on how unpredictable life can be, how easily things could have turned out differently. But online, some people interpreted those comments in their own way, creating narratives that go far beyond what was actually said. That's where speculation starts to blur with reality. And then another name often gets pulled into these discussions: Diddy. For years, stories have circulated about exclusive parties hosted by Diddy, events where privacy was strictly controlled, phones were not allowed, and guest lists were extremely limited. In celebrity culture, that's not unusual. But when those details are combined with rumors of hidden recordings or leverage, the tone changes. Some claim there are systems in place that go beyond business, systems built on information, influence, and control. It's important to be clear, these claims remain unproven. Still, voices like Jaguar Wright have spoken openly about what they believe is happening behind the scenes. She describes an industry where power isn't just about money, it's about secrets, about who holds information and how it's used. According to her perspective, figures like Jay-Z and Diddy are part of a larger network that shapes outcomes quietly. Again, these are claims, not confirmed facts, but they continue to fuel discussion. Then there's Rihanna. Her story is often included in these conversations. Discovered as a teenager, she was quickly introduced into the industry through Jay-Z's connections at Def Jam. The public narrative describes it as a breakthrough moment, a young artist getting a life-changing opportunity. But over time, additional details have surfaced about how intense that process was. Some accounts suggest pressure, while others describe it as a high-stakes moment where talent met opportunity. Like many industry stories, it depends on perspective. Still, when people line up names like Aaliyah, Beyonce, and Rihanna, they start asking a bigger question. How much of success is organic and how much is shaped by those already in power? And then there's Pimp C. Before his passing in 2007, there were claims that he had access to sensitive material involving high-profile figures. He reportedly hinted at having information that could expose powerful people, but nothing was ever publicly released. That silence, intentional or not, became part of the mystery surrounding his story. His death was officially ruled as complications related to substances and underlying health issues. However, as often happens in cases connected, directly or indirectly, to influential circles, some people continue to question whether there was more beneath the surface. Over time, those questions have only fueled further speculation rather than providing closure. As these discussions spread, other well-known names are frequently pulled into the narrative. Each mention adds another layer of intrigue, building what Albard see as a complex puzzle. But the reality is, not every connection is based on verified facts. Many of these links are shaped by interpretation rather than evidence. Even broader controversies, references to documents, investigations, or alleged leaks are often taken out of context online. Once shared, they evolve quickly, becoming more dramatic and more certain than the original information ever suggested. This pattern reflects the nature of internet storytelling. It grows, adapts, and sometimes drifts far from confirmed reality. So where does that leave figures like Jay-Z and Beyonce? They stand at the center of two very different perspectives. For many, they represent success built on talent, discipline, and strategic decision-making. Their careers are often seen as proof of what's possible through focus and hard work. For others, however, they are viewed as part of a much larger system, one that operates behind the scenes in ways the public may never fully understand. There are even whispers suggesting that Beyonce might one day speak openly about her experiences. There's no concrete evidence to support that idea, yet the possibility alone keeps audiences curious and engaged. Then there's Aaliyah, a name that continues to surface in these discussions. Some believe that if she truly chose a different path, it raises deeper questions about the choices artists face within the industry. Whether those ideas are grounded in truth or not remains unclear, but they continue to shape how people interpret her legacy. This leads to a broader question. Is everything simply coincidence, timing, and circumstance? Or is there a system quietly operating in the background, one built on influence, control, and information? There's no definitive answer. What exists instead is a mix of speculation, interpretation, and ongoing debate. What is certain, though, is that conversations involving Jay-Z, Beyonce, Aaliyah, and others are unlikely to fade anytime soon. People will keep revisiting these stories, connecting dots, and questioning an industry that often feels more complex than it appears on the surface. So now the question comes down to perspective. Do you see this as a collection of rumors that expanded over time? Or do you believe there's something deeper, something still hidden, that hasn't fully come to light? Either way, the narrative continues to evolve, and the world is still watching.